Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the PT Podcast, brought to you by Crossroads Community Church in Lindale, Texas. I am your host, PT, otherwise known as Pata, if you are phonetically challenged. Pata. Anyways, Potato Head. I don't care whatever you call me. If you call it loud enough, I'm coming running. Anyways, I'm here with my podcasting partners, the Bald Beauty, Steve Howard. What's up, Steve?
How y'all doing, guys?
And then you know him, you love him, the only one in this room that's redheaded, Todd the Irishman Bergen. What's up, Todd?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Joining us again, maybe the last one for a while, because she's about to head back to the Dominican Republic, is the brilliant, the wonderful Alexis Garland from Raiz Ministry. Hey, Alexis, how you doing?
Hey, guys. Excited to be here.
Cool. All right, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. I don't want to do a lot of preliminaries, but we are going to talk about stuff that's happening in our lives. First of all, this last Sunday, which was what, September
26th.
something, 26th. Thank
26.
you. I'm so far out of it at this point. I'm not even going to pretend that I know what day it is. Serenity Farm groundbreaking though last Sunday went awesome. Yeah,
Yay.
got videos and Todd was laughing like a little boy on the tractor.
I was loving it.
That was the perfect thing, dude. That was awesome. So what's up? What do you want people to know about Serenity Farm? First of all, second of all, what all is happening and what's coming up, and give us a brief overview of everything that's happening.
Well, things that are coming up. Obviously, we broke ground. We're getting ready. Yeah, I know. It's so exciting.
That's awesome.
Yes. So getting the large plot ready for planting potatoes, onions, that sort of thing.
Ooh.
It's so beautiful. It's just
Yes, it is.
serene.
Potatoes and what?
Serenity.
Onions and
Oh,
beets
yes.
and corn. And,
Oh, yes.
yes.
What else?
I think that's about it for that field.
Okay.
Well, later on, we'll be doing watermelons. Yes. And don't forget about pumpkins next Halloween. We'll be
Yay,
ready next
pumpkins.
Halloween. Yes.
I
That
think
way we can have the kids come out and have a good time.
Yeah, we have plans for that too.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It'll
Yeah.
be a little project that
Yeah.
we could raise some cash for the farm. And exactly. Actually, you need like a cha-ching, cha-ching.
I thought about it, but then I didn't want it to sound like we were, that's
Right, yeah.
Not about
That's
the money.
No, it's about the heart. I kind of dig the heart better.
We had somebody donate a tractor to us, and
Whoa,
so I
yeah.
spent the whole day yesterday working on it. Yes,
You got to like tractors that you have to work on.
I do. I love projects. I really do.
But the price that we paid for that tractor,
Was perfect.
Yeah.
it was
Yes.
perfect.
Yeah.
I'll take the extra little bit of money I had to put into it to get it up and running. But yeah, cleaning out the gas tank is one.
I was wondering what that smell was.
That's gasoline. Yeah, I had it all over my hands, and so it's funny. I put my hand on my mouth when I drink my coffee, and it's like, oh, Starbucks and unleaded, nice, good fragrance. But anyway, so moving right along, as far as Serenity Farms, upcoming events, we've got. We'll be also getting the road bed 1.5 acres. Actually, I measured it off. It's shy of an acre.
That's okay though.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I was going to knock down some trees. We're going to talk about that later.
Okay.
Anyways, so
News to me at this point.
yeah, it's all good.
All right.
So anyways, we'll get those beds ready, get the compost down, get cardboard down. We got to do a cardboard day.
Compost.
Yes, compost.
Compost.
Not the kind of compost that you probably frequent in the morning. It's a different kind of compost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I know. Sorry to let you all down, folks. But yes, so
Cardboard,
Yeah,
though.
we're looking for a cardboard donation.
If it's
Yeah.
tore up, it doesn't matter. Just bring it.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
lots of cardboard at my house. Y'all need it?
Yeah.
I mean,
we do.
literally have a lot of cardboard.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just bring it on, dude.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna be going to Sam's Club. I'm gonna be going to Lowe's. I'm gonna be going
Okay.
to talk to Starbucks. They're gonna donate. Well, they're gonna donate. We're gonna snag all their coffee grounds from them.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
they get
we
like-
had some people come
We
up.
have moving boxes is what we have.
That's fine.
We had some people come up on Sunday and say they had chicken poop.
chicken poop's too hot.
It's
Yeah,
too hot.
Too hot.
Too
well,
hot.
because you can't put it down right away.
But we'll get it.
Yeah, we'll get it and we'll put it in the compost pile.
Yes. The
We'll
pile of compost.
We'll be brewing up some compost pile.
So what else is coming up? We got all that stuff that you're planning on doing, but what else is coming up that you might want people to know?
Well, unfortunately, I'm back ordered on the greenhouse, and so putting up the 100-foot greenhouse is going to be a slow process because I'm waiting for them to get them in stock.
Oh,
I did find a company that was out of Kentucky, I think it was. They only wanted the small fortune for their greenhouse, and also they're the only ones that have them right now.
Really?
But when you ask 10 grand for the
goodness,
yes, right. So,
well,
I'm going to be
greenhouse.
Okay, so I'm alluding to something. What's happening on Sunday?
This Sunday.
Yes.
This Sunday. Well, we've got a work party going on at the church
Woo!
here. Yeah. So, if all hands were on deck, we would get a large amount of things done that I would love to have on the task list. Obviously, we're working on the coffee bar in the church. Yay! So carpentry.
That's important.
Yes. Outside the church, we've got some other acreage that we have to clear off, weed whackers and such, and unfortunately, some of the weeds that have grown in there look like trees. Yes, exactly. So we'll be tearing them down.
So last week we talked about Laura's cooking.
Yeah, she's great cook.
Yeah, great cook. Barbecuer is what
Yes.
I think
Is
we were
Laura
talking
cooking this
about.
weekend? Is she going to come cook?
Steve?
I don't know.
Oh,
You don't know? Well, you haven't asked. So
I have not.
haven't asked. So we haven't
is-
heard from Laura.
Steve kind of goes.
When
to,
is it?
He goes to another Sunday.
This Sunday?
This Sunday.
No.
I thought we-
still got a lot of company right now.
I thought we determined that, and they're all male, by the way.
What?
Yeah,
He's got something in the mail.
a lot of company over there that's male figures.
Oh yes, all the boys.
and
I
they
forgot.
could all come over and help us work.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. So again, I say
I've got ditches that
Steve?
need to be. Yes, Steve. We've got ditches that need to be dug.
you said 11
No.
people, right? At your, that's like an
Yes.
army. We can put them to work.
It's a
We got,
football team.
we got irrigation to
Steve?
put out for the trees. We got man. I mean, we got fruit trees
I
going
think-
in.
I think
and
this
if
is-
we had,
Yeah.
I think this is an idea that his time has come, is what I
No,
think.
they're leaving on Monday, so we won't. That's our last day. So
We'll get it all out on Friday and Saturday. You got plenty of time.
that's right.
You've
Come
got a
on.
homecoming parade that you're going to, man. Don't play with me.
You got a home
Play with me.
yes,
Play with me. Go to
homecoming for
Tell me
Quentin.
about you got guests and you go to Cowboy games. Yeah,
Yes, I had
Where's the
there it
button
is.
on that
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Where's the button on that one?
I don't know, man. Oh yeah,
had to do it myself.
I don't. Hey, don't even act like you like the Cowboys.
I didn't say I liked the Cowboys, but I didn't say I didn't not like the Cowboys. I just
See, Alexis beat me 2 seconds.
I'm not a big.
world is wrong with you?
I'm not a big football fan.
Okay.
Just not that guy.
Steve talking about the Cowboy game because I know you just want to rub it in, but you and Laura, I know Laura
He's wearing
had
a
an
Cowboy
excellent. I know, man, had a great anniversary, 3 years
Yes.
in marital bliss.
Yes. Awesome marital bliss.
Marital bliss, and they celebrated that marital bliss by what? What did you? First of all,
So first, well, we
on my birthday, you went and got something. What'd you get?
What?
You got a
A guitar.
yeah. What was that?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I'm alluding to these things, so I want to make sure. Yeah,
I got me a new,
your dream.
my dream Taylor guitar.
It's
Wow.
yeah,
My wife-
Yeah.
Yes, I was-
What color is it?
It's like sunburst brown with. It's got a lot of bling. It's got the.
And your
got the
wife bought
abalone.
this for
It's
Tim?
Rose.
No.
No.
Oh, I thought she bought it for
Got-
Tim.
No,
No,
she
I-
got it for me.
I did get a nice card though. It was very.
I
very
got a nice card. Yes.
I got a nice card.
Yes,
I
you
got a
did.
very nice card. Yes,
And we
I
got to hang out with y'all that night. It was fun.
Yes, and he blessed me with his presence.
Yes, I did.
And so did Bryce was there. I got to meet Bryce.
Yes,
Sure.
Bryce was there, and what happened is Bryce had to go back. He came and spent a week with us from.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the Air Force, and so he got to come. He's in Italy. He got
Thank
to
you,
come
Bryce.
see us. Yes, we loved it. It was great, but we had to take him back on our anniversary on the Monday. We had to take him back to the airport, and so we're like, when we're in Dallas, we're going to try to find something to do for our anniversary.
Something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wait till they tell you what something is.
Well, first, so we want to try to do something romantic, because it's our anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So we start looking. So what we do, we go to the Grapevine Mills Mall, and so we just go down there, and then we start seeing everybody in cowboy everything.
Wait,
so-
you went to it. You went to the Grapevine Mills Mall for your
Yeah.
anniversary.
Yes, we ate at the Rainforest Cafe. The
Was
Rainforest
it
Cafe
raining?
is cool. Yeah, it's
Was it
cool.
raining there?
It was good food. Yeah, I liked it. It was fun. The tigers were roaring. It was fun. Yeah, Rawr. Yeah, it was fun.
They have
But-
tigers at the Rainforest Cafe?
Yes, they do. Tigers and lions and bears. Oh my.
My.
Yes.
Yes.
Then
I don't
no
think they have
cows. No
Did
cows.
you? Yes,
you
they
order
probably
steak.
did. I bet you had a burger or something, didn't you?
No, we had salmon.
Oh, so you had fish.
We had coconut shrimp, coconut battered shrimp. It was amazing.
Okay, good. All right. So what happened? You saw the cowboy stuff?
Okay, so we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. So, we want to do something romantic. So we looked up, there's a gondola thing. It was like for like $400. Like, no way. I said, this is in Italy, so I'm not going to do that. And then we called the Dallas Symphony and see if they had anything going on. And then they told us, they tried to help us find something. They said nothing is on, and we wonder why nothing is available, nothing. And then come to find out, I was like, I didn't realize that Dallas was playing that day. I knew that I didn't get to check the scores on Sunday, so I thought I'd check and see what the score was, and I realized, oh no, they're playing tonight. And I'm like, babe, what do you think about a Cowboy game? I've always wanted to go to the stadium. I've never been there. And she's like, oh, I don't know. And then she started looking, and she
doesn't share the same.
And then she started looking at tickets, and we found some tickets. And as we would try to find the ticket and get the ticket, it would disappear. And then we'd have to keep trying. And finally, we got a ticket.
Just one?
They were going fast, and we got the nosebleed. But come to find out, my wife absolutely loved it. It was the best game to go to. They stomped the Eagles. It was fun to watch.
It was. Yes.
Yeah,
it was. That's kind of.
And my wife said we're going to have to do this again. She loved it so much. And then of course there was no places to stay because all of the hotels anywhere near the stadium were gone. They were all sold out. So we didn't have a place to stay. So I said, well, let's just drive towards Plano. And so we just took off towards Plano. And we found a Marriott there at the Legacy.
And they stayed in their car in the parking lot because they were completely out of money after that.
No, my wife had some points with the Marriott through her other work. And so we stayed, and they upgraded us since it was our anniversary. So we got a really nice balcony in the top floor. It was really cool.
Okay.
So God is good.
A special night.
Yeah, I'm a special shade of green at this point. Yeah.
So my wife loved our anniversary, and so did I.
Yes, you should. You should have.
Yes.
And your birthday.
And we're done spending money now.
I'll right. Yeah.
Yes. No more spending money.
Right. I've always said that too. Mm-hmm. I always figure out a new way, an exciting way to spend money. Alexis.
Yes.
You are heading back to Dominican pretty quick.
Yes, we are. We leave on October the 10th. Wow.
Well, we've really enjoyed having you around. Appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun. Here.
So, at those at home that may be listening for the first time, what's Raiz Ministry and what does it endeavor to do?
So we are a nonprofit mission organization based in the Dominican Republic, and we are dedicated to helping. We would love to end it. We don't know if that is in our lifetime, but we would love to start the process of providing a safe place for child slavery that is happening in the Dominican Republic every day. It's being trafficked in from Haiti. We can record 2,500 every year, but those are just the ones that are recorded. There's more. We know there's more. Yeah. And it is our long-term goal to build a safe house for these children, but we want to do it in the most culturally sensitive and the most upright way that we can. And so when we head back on October the 10th, the first thing that we are going to get started is registering our organization with the Dominican Republic. It is a long process full of red tape, and we are going to grit our teeth and we're going to get it done because we want to be above board on everything that we do, make sure that we provide a very stable and a safe place for these children to go to. So that is our main goal, but we also, while we're there, are going to be working in the communities to build trust, provide medical care, just meet needs where we can. We're also working with 3 feeding programs because, as everyone knows, the prices of everything has shot up, and that is very true for the Dominican Republic. The food has tripled, and they couldn't afford it to begin with. And so we are helping with the feeding programs there. In the meantime, and just loving on the people every single day. They are beautiful, bright, wonderful people. And if you're interested in what we do, you can go to our website, which is Raiz, R-A-I-Z, ministry.org. You can find out more information. You can send us an email, and we'll be happy to talk with you.
Awesome ministry. Awesome ministry. If you guys have never looked into it, you need to go there and check it out. And you said the people are what? Bright and
beautiful and full of life and so sweet and kind.
You guys are going to fit right in. I'm just saying. Yes. All right. So we wanted to give you something for doing what you do, and that's just for
Pastor
you.
Tim.
That's not even for your parents. You don't give that to your parents.
It's not for my parents.
No, it's for you. That's for you. You spend it on you. You go and splurge and have a good time. That's from us to you. This is your podcasting people.
Amen.
And that way,
I thought this was volunteer work.
Well, it is.
It is.
When do I get mine?
You don't. You went to the Cowboy game and didn't invite me, punk.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are making me sad.
So, anyways,
We're very happy with what you're doing.
We are,
awesome.
and we want to bless you and encourage you and tell you how much you mean to us, and your family means to us, and you're just you guys are one of a kind. So we appreciate y'all and everything you're doing. You got our prayers, but more than that, we want you to know how much we love you.
Thank you very much.
So, all right, let's get into the topic today. We all know the rhyme, liar, liar, pants on fire. And today our topic is exactly about that. Is all deception bad? Question mark. So before we get into these, before we get into the topic, let's get into these scriptures. And let me ask the panel first of all: do you believe that there is ever a time that we should lie? Better said, do you think that there is such a thing as benevolent deception? And before we answer that, let's go ahead and look to the Bible. Exodus 20:16 says, "Do not bear false witness against your neighbor." I want you to note the way that's worded. Do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Then Leviticus 19:11 says, "You shall not steal, you shall not deal falsely, you shall not lie to one another." And then go to Titus. That's in the New Testament, by the way, and it's taking me just a second to get there. Titus chapter 1, verse 2, "In hope of eternal life, which God, who never lies, promised before the ages began." So obviously he is a God that never lies. What I'm venturing to find out is that is there ever a time where I guess we need to define what these things are: lies, deception, if there is a middle ground into this stuff, if all lying, if it's just legally the second that you do a falsehood, is it bad? Because if that's the case, if I turn to Joshua chapter 2, let's go there real quick. If you're not there already, then get there. I'll give you just a second to get there because it's taking me just a second to get there. And I'm using a digital device so you don't hear the pages flipping. Although it probably would sound a lot more holy if the pages were flipping. Yes. All right, so here we go. This is the story. Joshua's the son of Nun, and that's not N-O-N-E, that's N-U-N. And no, it's not Nun like Sound of Music Nun. That's, although it's spelled like that, it's actually a guy's name, Nun. Sent 2 men secretly from Shittim as spies, saying, "Go view the land, especially Jericho." And they went and came into the house of a prostitute whose name was Rahab, and lodged there. And it was told to the king of Jericho, "Behold, men of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land." The king finds out about what happens, and it's told the king of Jericho, "Behold, the men of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land." Then the king of Jericho sent to Rahab, saying, "Bring out the men who have come to you, who entered your house, for they have come to search out all the land." But the woman had taken the men and hidden them. And she said, "True, the men came to me, but I did not know where they were from. And when the gate was about to be closed at dark, the men went out." Was that true? No. Did Rahab lie?
I think she hit him up in the attic.
Possibly.
Technically, yes, she did, because she knew exactly where they were. She was the one that hit them. And she knew that they didn't leave out the gate because they were in her house.
They were in the rafters.
Oh, my goodness. Well, see, some people would call that a contradiction.
Say it isn't so.
I know. Got all this legal stuff that's people like to put out, don't lie. But then you get this example of Joshua 2. And guess who's in the Hall of Faith in Hebrews chapter 11? Rahab. Holy cow. So let's just have the conversation here. Let's get into this. Let's delineate. I'm going to get all into the semantics of it all. I'm going to go all bookish on you. Lying in the Greek in the Strong's Concordance, G5579, it's called pseudos. And yes, that's where we get our terms, pseudoscience, pseudo stuff like that. It's fake. It's not good. It's false. Lie and lying are related words in the Bible. Take note of the detailed definition here. A lie is what it literally means. Pseudos means a lie. It's a conscious and intentional falsehood. And in a broad sense, whatever, it's not what it seems to be. It's a perverse, impious, and deceitful precepts. Now, that's important to note. The subtext to a lie is malicious if we're talking about perverse, impious, and deceitful precepts. Okay, those are big terms for it's not built on a foundation that's good. Okay, so when we're talking about lying in the Greek, it's referring to something that is not a good thing. It's not it's impious, it's perverse, and it's deceitful in its precepts. Okay, it's doing this to hurt somebody. Although I don't see malicious in that, I would say that those things contextually can lead to me understanding that lying, when it's referring to pseudo in the Greek, is talking about a perverse and impious or malicious reason. Now, in the Hebrew term, it's translated many ways, which I find to be interesting. But the Hebrew term in Strong's is 3576 kazab, which is a primitive root, which generally means to lie or be a liar. And the translation is translated in the following words, and this is pretty cool too: fail twice. So when you hear God is not a man that he should
lie, but
that word could be translated into fail. Oh, or false, or liars or lie. Now, it's translated into lie 6 times in the New American Standard. Lied twice, but everything else is one. Lying, prove me a liar, told lies, any of those things. God is not a man that he told lies. Any of those things in its root could be used for that purpose. That's how it's translated, those ways. So fail is used the second most, which is twice. The biggest usage is obviously lie, the word lie, and that's 6 times in the New American Standard. Now, in this particular case of deception by Rahab that we read earlier, the Bible didn't list her action specifically as lying, which I find it never used kazab. It never used that root or any derivative of that word in that text. So, although in context, we realize that Rahab was dabbling in deception, wasn't she?
Yes.
Okay, so now for most of us, the tricky question isn't whether lying is okay, because we know that we probably shouldn't be lying to one another. That's not something that we should be doing. That's because of our relational context. I want to be honest with you. I want to feel like I can be honest with you. So the tricky question is, what counts as a lie? Now, we would agree that the bold-faced lying is wrong, but is it wrong to tell a friend an encouraging white lie? This is a question that I want you guys to ponder. What about when our spouse asks us if one of those lose-lose questions, one of those danged if you do, danged if you don't. Like, do you think she's pretty, or how do these pants make my butt look? Or do motives play a factor in this? When we're answering those questions, does a motive play a factor in that? And I don't know. We're going to say. Now, in our biblical example of Rahab, there's another example that I want to bring out before we get into massive conversation. There's a girl named Corrie ten Boom during the World War II, and the well-known story of the hiding place. And for some time, she and her sister hid Jews and enabled them to escape from the Nazis. And they, with her actions here, probably spared them trips to the concentration camp. So repeatedly, she was asked point blank by the Nazis, the Gestapo, if she was hiding Jews, and she routinely lied to the authorities in order to protect their lives. Now, the Bible says don't lie. But Corrie ten Boom lied. Do you think that is she going to hell? Now, I'm one more branch on the fire, and then we're gonna go start. There was a study done in 2014 by Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. Emma Levine, a doctoral candidate, and her co-author, Wharton professor Maurice Schweitzer, wanted to scientifically identify exact instances when lying is considered immoral. And to do this, they put hundreds of subjects through scenarios involving deception to see whether they judge particular forms of lying to be good or bad. For example, in some cases, lying to someone might result in giving the recipient of the lie a few dollars. In other cases, lying to someone might result in taking a few dollars away from the recipient of the lie. Everybody follow me? Say yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the results were absolutely unanimous. Lying to help another person was consistently perceived to be good, while lying that had no effect on the other person or that actually harmed them was perceived to be wrong. Okay. In the paper, Levine and Schweitzer both wrote, individuals with altruistic intentions are perceived to be moral, more benevolent, and more honest, even when they lie. All right, so knowing what we know, all those branches on the fire, let's start to answer some of the questions that I got here. Is there a difference between lying and deception, or are we just splitting hairs? I open up the floor.
Wow.
Is there a difference between lying and deception?
Yes.
Yes, I believe so.
100%.
Yes.
Well, Steve's going to go with the peer pressure routine.
Well, I mean, let's explain it. I mean, in most cases, when you want to talk about when your wife says to you, "Do these pants make me look fat?" Well, what's your relationship like with her? Are you okay with saying, "You know, honey, it doesn't make you look fat, but your butt's a little pompous"? I don't think those jeans are the right kind of jeans for you.
Now,
and do you have a good enough relationship with your wife? You can say that, and she'd be like,
"Let me narrow this down, though, bro. Let me narrow what is the difference in your semantics between lying and deception? How would you tell me what the difference is between those two things?"
Well, I would have to say that obviously deception, like you've stated, is a factor of hurting other people. Mm-hmm. It creates...
So deception is hurting other people. Mm-hmm. What about lying?
Well, just like the young lady who was with the guards and said, "Hey, no, I haven't seen anybody." But those guys God had given them the land.
Okay, so but kazab literally means it's malicious, it's perverse, it's not. So the lying part, that it defines it as a liar, it's saying it's flip-flop of that, saying that deception. I didn't actually define deception. Do you have something on that, Alexis? I think you had said you had something on that.
I do.
She's think got a lot of notes.
I would define it a little bit differently than you, Todd. I think that I couldn't say that one is bad and one is good, or that one always has good intentions and one always has bad intentions. I think to lie would be to intentionally spread disinformation or to say something that you know to be false, or that you know to be true and represent it as false. Whereas deception could be to mislead or misdirect using your actions or your words. So you could deceive someone into thinking that you are someone you're not by what you're wearing, or, but lying particularly is to say something.
There's thousands of Christians that do that all the time on Sundays. There's pastors that do that all the time. All right, go ahead.
So I do believe that there is a difference between the two. But
so lying is purposely misrepresenting something, either if it's truthful and you're presenting it as false, or something is false is presenting it as truthful, making something that is not truthful, it's not honest. Mm-hmm. But deception is clarify.
Yeah.
I would say to mislead or misdirect. I think that...
You don't think lying does the same thing, though?
I think it does. And again, there's an element of this, I believe, that's arbitrary, because in our language, we have so many words that are very similar. They mean the same thing, and it'll differ between translations.
Like two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the way that I think about it, because I think we all have our ways of just clarifying and thinking about things in our own minds. But the way I think about it is lying is when you intentionally are saying something that you very well know to be false. For instance, I have a friend who will say, "Well, I lied to this person," when they did not realize they were saying something that was untrue. They thought that it was true, and they spread the information, and they'll say, "Oh, they made a liar out of me." I wouldn't call that lying, because at the time they did not know that that was not true. They thought they were speaking the truth, but they weren't. I think that there has to be intention behind lying.
You think that it's contingent upon their understanding?
I do. Whereas I would say deception, it can be intentional. I can unintentionally deceive. I think that there's an element where I could represent myself in a way that I'm not meaning to represent myself, and it could lead someone to a certain conclusion that I didn't really intentionally put forth, whereas lying is more intentional. But I could also intentionally deceive. I could misdirect, I could mislead, I could...
So what's the common denominator there? If lying and deception and deceiving and dishonesty, they're all totally different words, but there's a common denominator that you're alluding to. Mm-hmm. We haven't even said it. What's the common denominator underneath those decisions? Do you know?
Then
your actions, your heart.
My motive.
Yeah, your motive.
Yeah. So or common understanding, any of those things. So we're talking about lying, and if I'm not purposely trying to deceive, you're saying that that it matters. That motive obviously matters in how we're viewing that deception. This is what that study said.
I believe it does. That
altruistic intentions are perceived to be more moral, more benevolent, more honest, even when they are deceptive or when they lie. And you're saying the same thing. just Todd's saying the same exact thing when he's saying, well, I think that one is when we're just saying this to our wives, I think we need to have the relationship where we can say those things, but we also have to gauge on what's most beneficial to them, what's most loving to them. If wrecking their heart in the process, I know some people that when I first started dating Cheryl, back in that many years ago, my premise was brutal honesty. And I can tell you, count on my hand the number of times that was.
And she stuck with him.
Oh yeah, dude.
Wow.
She deserves some kind of reward. I'm just saying. She is my hero. She is my hero. But when she would ask questions like that, I would be brutally honest. I would say things like, "Well, yeah, you look pretty fat in that," or that kind of stuff. And she would not hit her right, and there was no.
That changed date night.
Yeah, bet it did.
It was just a tad tense every now and again. But I was a jerk. I'm not even going to say that I wasn't. I'm simply saying that. But if we take this as a legal term and we say that all deception, all lying without anything is completely terrible, it's bad, it's hideous. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm sure I'll get plenty of comments like I have been on this last podcast that we did that, we're false prophets or we're heretical because we represent another side of understanding of these things. But I'm just telling you, if it's just legal centric, then every person that walks in the door of the church and claims to be a Christian, but walks out of that church and lives their life differently than what Christ lived it, then we're all involved in that deception. We're all bad. Or if you said to your wife yesterday that she looked good, knowing full well that she did not look good, you're a deceiver, you're a liar, and everybody's going to hell because of that. I just don't. I think, let's say you're Corrie ten Boom and you look at the Nazi, and if all lying is bad, and let's take it to the extreme end of trying to protect somebody, and you're telling someone that, I'm not hiding them. There's nobody here, when you know full well that you are hiding them and that there is someone here. If all lying is bad, then Corrie ten Boom just sinned against God. So I think we need to come to that conclusion pretty early in this podcast, that not all deception, not all lying is morally, and I think we used this term a little earlier, morally reprehensible, morally bad. What do you think, Steve? Well, you're the only one that hasn't really said anything yet.
Okay, so what I got from her conversation is deception's not always spoken. That's
true.
But a lie is usually a false statement that has been spoken. So that's kind of where I get from the difference between the two.
That's insightful. It's very good. Yeah, you're right. That's
because it's a lie is a spoken untruth. Usually intent is to deceive.
Right.
But you can deceive somebody without even saying anything, just by doing something underhanded, It can be an action, not just a spoken.
Or even unintentionally is what she said.
Yeah, she said it can even be intentional. But like you said, it's the motive of the heart.
Seems to be the common theme around here.
Most of the time, when people speak a lie, we don't want them to lie to us, because we want people to be honest. And usually when somebody does speak, they speak either to protect themselves because they don't want the truth to be found, or they want to deceive for their own gain.
Okay.
That's generally what usually lying is used for.
You're saying that the overarching reason why lying is used is not very good things.
Generally, no. And that's why I would prefer people to be honest with me. And now, back to my wife, like you said, the deception. Generally, if she asks me, if I tell her that it looks good and she reads my face, she'll know, because she knows my face is saying something different than my mouth.
That's funny.
Uh-oh. Laura?
So she'll say, does this look good? And I'll say, yeah, it looks good. And she's like, no, it doesn't look good. Yeah. It doesn't look good. I'm not getting it. No.
Hey, I got a poker game coming up later on this evening. You want to join?
If you go on equipment,
trust me, I will not be a good poker game.
That's what I'm thinking.
If you own equipment and you hear this, you know what's happening at Steve's house. Yes, he just gave her that look. Yeah. Okay, so, all right. If the overarching, we got to be careful with generalizations, because if we generalize this statement, then you look, now, obviously, not every instance is like Corey Ten Boom.
Yes.
But, okay, so let me ask you a question. All of us. Did God ever use deception? Did he ever tell a falsehood?
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Alexis quite clearly said yes. What did you say, Todd?
I said, yep.
Yeah. Oh, you think he did? What about you, Steve? You went to Southwestern Assemblies of God University.
God doesn't lie. That's what I heard you say earlier.
That's what Titus said. God is not a man that he should lie. God does not lie.
He definitely didn't say something that is not
do
true.
you think God defines lying like we define lying?
I don't believe so.
Do you think he legalizes those things like we legalize them?
He plays by the rule of the heart.
I'd be lying if I told you I knew the answer to that.
Okay. God is in fact described as working in ways that border.
He is truth, so I don't see how he could be a lie.
Well, I'm about to explain it to you.
Okay, I'm listening.
He borders on deception in the fallen world. And there are some examples, particularly in the Old Testament, where God uses deception. And they seem to be a puzzling contradiction to the notion that God does not lie. You can look at 1 Kings 22:23, Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 10, and 20, chapter 20, verse 7. But in all these cases, every single one of them, all of these cases, the people of Israel are firmly entrenched in idolatry and are awaiting God's judgment in the coming exile. So God has already made the truth clear to the people that they have rejected it, and judgment is forthcoming.
Yes.
And it's clear that God is not deceiving the people as a means of instruction, but as a means of judgment. So I think when people reject truth, even God's character becomes a deception to them, which that would label what Romans 1 talks about, a depraved mind, someone who is engaged in so much deception, thinking that they've exchanged the truth of God for a lie, that God and his truth becomes almost a falsehood to them. Which would explain atheism. All right. So, however, I think in deceiving the self-deceived, God's actions do not contradict his character and truth. A New Testament parallel, of course, occurs in Paul's teachings in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 11 through 12. It says, "For this reason God sends them a powerful delusion, so that they will believe the lie, and so that all will be condemned who have not believed the truth but delighted in wickedness." So here Paul describes how at the end times the man of lawlessness sets himself up to be God. And to counter this self-deception, God uses deception, not to mislead the people, but to judge those that have abandoned the truth. Thus, when Paul speaks of the God who never lies in Titus 1:2, he is stating the character of God, yet recognizing that in a fallen world, the deepest truth at times must be cloaked in deception for the sake of love, like Corey Ten Boom. It's not a justifiable exception to the truthful character of God's image for humanity, but it is absolutely a fulfillment of a deeper truth in love. So God did you not understand any of that? Steve's looking at me like you just spoke in tongues and I'm waiting for the interpretation.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that when engaging sinful men that they're all about themselves. They're not about love. They're not about his regard is for his kids. His regard is for his kingdom. And it's to act totally in love for all that are involved. And it is not loving for himself, for his kids, for his kingdom, and even for the sinner to engage in ways that are helpful to their lives or helpful to their objective. Do you understand what I mean? And so he's got to determine the best course of action in that moment, whether or not it is good for him to protect, like Corey Ten Boom, or whether he reveals the plan and lets everybody in on what he's about to do. So in essence, the deception is strategic in not letting the man of lawlessness know what's happening. And he brings a deep delusion, not dark, but deep delusion on those that are not following truth. Why? So that they believe the lie and they continue on their course, and that he can go ahead and strategically lead his armies to defeat the man of lawlessness. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
So God is engaging in that deception, but
so he deceives his enemies.
Well, here in the end times, he's saying that God uses deception not to mislead people, but to bring about the judgment that needs to happen in order to bring about the things that he's prophesied and promised that were coming. Well, I don't think that it goes against his character of truth, because he's the whole basis is love. The whole basis is the foundation of love, which I think is going to be what we would talk about anyways. But does God do it? Yeah, I think we see instances in the Bible where God dabbles in the deception. I don't think he ever speaks something and then doesn't let it be true. Like you were talking about, Todd, where you said, the speaking part of it, where you're speaking a lie. And then I think he's more about the strategic reason of doing the things that he's doing. He's basing everything and all of his actions on love. And if it's more loving to make sure that, he's not revealing what's happening, or let's do another one, just a little bit more grassroots here. Let's talk about Jonah. He told Jonah that he was going to destroy Nineveh. He didn't give him factors on what would change his mind. He just simply said, go tell Nineveh that I'm going to destroy them. And Jonah knew who God was and said, well, I know what you're going to do. You're going to tell them this, and then they're going to repent, and you're going to recant. I'm not doing that. I want the Assyrians to die.
Just destroy them, God.
Just go ahead and do it. Why are you sending me? Okay, but I want you to go tell them.
Just do it.
Did God deceive the Ninevites? Or did he influence them into a good decision?
Both.
He gave them an opportunity to turn.
Well, yeah, but through what?
Deception.
Well, he said, I'm sure he said, if you...
Was it a lie?
I'm sure he gave a condition.
No, he didn't.
I'm sure whenever... Well, we don't know, because we
do know. Jonah never gave he told them that he was going to destroy exactly what God told him. Of course, he was in the belly of a whale for 3 days.
He didn't say...
But...
that's because
he didn't say that. He wasn't an evangelist in that capacity. He wanted the Syrians to die.
Yeah, but since he came out of the fish, that was their God, and they recognized him.
They didn't see him come out of the fish.
Oh, well.
You're stretching. You know the story.
Yeah.
He walks in and Nineveh says, God's going to destroy you. And Nineveh goes, oh, God, please don't. And then God relents. But it wasn't until then. Now, let me ask you a question. God didn't deceive, because would he have destroyed them if they hadn't have?
Yes.
Possibly.
It could be considered a lie by omission.
Yeah. Well, now we're getting into the sin of omission or sin of commission.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know the intent. And I don't know the intent of God's heart, although I know the character of God is completely loving. And knowing the character, that's what I'm trying to implement here, is saying that his deception does not counter the love that is in his nature. That's the foundation of God. He is love. God is love. He is truth, but that truth is built on the foundation of his character of love. So, and wisdom is love and knowledge combined. So that love and knowledge combined is the act of wisdom, okay? And he's completely wise. So when we're talking about that stuff, his act to deceive in that capacity was completely wise based on his character and his nature, okay? Now, if we're to reflect that, then we have to say that not all deception is bad.
Yeah.
In that context.
Right.
Well, he obviously wanted to save them. That's why he sent Jonah.
Maybe.
Well, he wanted to at least give him a chance.
We don't know.
No,
he saved him.
Come on, he said, go to him. Go to him and tell him.
Just tell him I'm going to destroy him.
I don't want to go. But why would he?
And Jonah knew who he was, so yeah, he even said, "Well, you're going to do this."
Jonah,
yeah.
You know you're going to.
He got mad at God because he did.
I'll relent. I'll say, okay, that's true. But Jonah is the only one that knew that.
Well, Jonah was the only one in the conversation, I think. I don't remember anybody else in that story.
God was in that conversation.
Well, him and God.
So God said, tell them that I'm going to destroy him. Didn't give him any other conditions.
Nope.
Just said, go tell him I'm going to destroy him.
Yeah.
Now, Jonah knew who God was.
And said, nah, you're not going to do that.
I'm not going to do that, dude. I want him to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, I'll walk the other way.
Evil people, they deserve to die.
But we all agree. We're all agreed at this table that God did use the form of deception to influence to a better decision in love and relent. Just to let you know that 100 years later, they die. Okay. Nineveh goes back to their old ways, and God takes care of that. So let's keep going on these questions. All right. How important is integrity and honesty in relationship?
Very.
Very, extremely.
Okay, why?
Very. Integrity is doing what's right even when nobody sees.
Right. Why is that important for a relationship?
If nobody sees it, does it really matter?
Yes, it does.
Tell me,
Todd
Steve.
played the devil's
Come on.
advocate over
I mean, if you cut a tree down, does anybody hear it in the woods? And you're the only one there?
No.
Listen to the wise Yoda.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
Why? If you cannot, why do you think it's important in relationship, Alexis? Why do you think that honesty and integrity is important in relationship?
Well, first of all, when we started talking about this topic, integrity was one of the first things that came to mind. And I think that it's one of those words we use right along with honesty. But when thinking about whether or not an instance of deception is justifiable, in my mind, I think, will it uphold integrity in this moment? Will it uphold my integrity?
What is integrity?
I believe integrity is when you are, number one, acting with the good intentions of the others around you. I think it's making sure that your behavior, your actions are for the love and for the good of others.
That's my definition of love, by the way.
Right. And so I think that especially in a relationship, it's really important to make sure that you don't compromise the integrity that you've set up in
Why?
that relationship, because it undermines the trust. It undermines if I'm in a relationship and we have set these relational boundaries, we've set these, I want you to tell me the truth in these instances, which in my opinion would be in most things. If you undermine that, even if you think you're protecting that person, I'm of the opinion that you have to be careful when you determine that you're going to lie on someone else's behalf because you think it's going to protect their feelings. I think there are instances when maybe that's okay, but you have to be very, very careful about that boundary. Because if you're going to have a relationship, I really believe it needs to be built on trust. Mm-hmm. Even if you're going to have a hard conversation. And I don't think your only two options are deception and brutal honesty. I think that there are other ways to communicate honestly without being just mean.
You got to have tact.
Yeah.
There. Thank you. Little couth. Be a little couth.
So in other words, we want our cake, but we want to eat it too.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with cake. I think you're making...
I'm hungry. You don't want some
Of course
cake?
you are.
I want honesty, but I want it my way. Right away.
Not
No.
necessarily.
Yeah.
I'm just playing, but I'm serious.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah, devil's advocate. Well, I think I'm asking, why is that important in relationship? And I'm getting the answer of, there are bases for deception, but I think honesty is important, but still the underlying, and that's always going to be a question with me. Why? Why is it important? Why do we build up that honesty in relationship is that important? Why is that something that is necessary in a relationship? And I think that's what I'm asking more.
Because trust must be there.
Yeah.
To
Why?
have a strong relationship.
Why?
What is trust?
What happens when you don't have it?
What, trust?
Yes.
Trust,
What happens in a relationship when there is no honesty?
it's hard. The relationship gets broken up
How? Why? That's
No,
what I'm.
You don't believe in what they
because
say.
it's
I think honesty is essential in a relationship for honest and authentic communication to occur. Because how do you know what is truth and
Right.
what is a falsehood?
You're insecure at any moment. If they
It's
speak.
chaotic.
It's chaotic.
Yeah, it's anarchy. There's no common understanding. There's no way for you to be able to imagine what it would be like living in a society in which no one expected the truth.
yeah, and love is
What
It's
basis?
broken.
Well, yeah. Well, not just love, dude. But I'm talking about. There's no basis at all for common understanding. Yeah, 1 second I could be telling you, but you're in your mind. You're going, well, how do I know if that's truthful or not? There's no foundation on which to walk on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What basis could a person? I have this question here. On what basis could a person make important decisions if there was no expectation of honesty? How in the world could we even talk to one another if what you could? And I define integrity as something you can build on. Mm-hmm. If I look at a structure of a house, I question whether or not it is integrally sound, whether or not the foundation has integrity, whether or not the walls have integrity. If I'm going to sit down in a chair, I need to find out if it has integrity for me to be able to sit down on it. If not, if it starts to creak, I was at a certain restaurant. I'm not going to say what name it is because I don't want to. I was at a certain restaurant. I sat down, their chair started to creak. Well, in my history, and I've been a big boy pretty much all my life, There was one time I was 380 something pounds. Okay.
Wow.
Sit down in a chair. If it starts to creak, you get your butt up off that chair. Why? Because it is not structurally sound. It does not have integrity. And if we get rid of honesty in our communication, we say that it is not integral for authentic communication, because I really believe that authentic communication requires honesty. It has to. Otherwise, we have no foundation to believe the other person at all. Does that make sense? So that's the why. In order for us to be able to have a conversation together, you have to be able to build your understanding off the basis of what I'm saying.
Right.
Does that make sense to you guys?
Yep.
So that's what there's not a correct answer to that. I think one thing is to label the legalistic standard of there's got to be truth. There's got to be truth. And we understand that there's got to be truth. But I think we have to go deeper than that as people. We have to understand the reasons why that pretext has to be in relationship. Why is that important for us when we're engaging in conversation? Why do I need to act in a truthful way most of the time, certain exceptions notwithstanding? And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But why does that have to be the foundation in the course of how we're talking to one another? Because you need to be able to believe what I'm saying, and I need to be able to believe what you're saying, so that our relationship and through conversation can be built on that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That's the why. For me, that's the why.
Is that the why for you,
Steve?
Sorry.
Steve?
Yeah.
I'm looking
Steve?
at Steve.
Yeah.
I think I lost him.
No.
Am I just, is that splitting hairs? Do y'all think y'all were saying the same thing? I just wanted to make sure that we define the why. What about, how do we even cooperate with one another? I think trust and cooperation require honesty. You have to have those things. I think in order for there to be civil cooperation, I have to trust that you know what you're doing. And that when you tell me you know what you're doing, like, for you to work the farm and build the land up, I have to trust that you know what you're doing, and you tell me that you know what you're doing, that I'm going to believe what you say and trust you to get it done, because there's no stinking way. I don't even know what lever to push on the tractor. Is there a lever to push to start it? What?
There's a button.
Okay, there's a button. All right. I don't know.
And you got to push the clutch in.
Unless
you're neutral. That's okay.
It's like getting you to try to work the keyboard.
That would be funny.
I can't work that keyboard.
Is there an
either.
on switch on that thing, or you just plug it in?
It's easy to turn that part on.
The on switch is easy. It's just getting to a sound
sounds.
that actually works. But trust is.
I can't even play GarageBand on my phone.
I'll show you.
Oh, thanks.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah,
but
it's very fun.
Trust is critical for a society to be coexisting, to be prosperous, and being a person of one's word establishes trust and worthiness and trustworthiness. And if you look at the Mosaic Law in Deuteronomy, it continually, every time it talks about, the commandments of love for one another, it alludes to the fact that there's got to be some kind of honesty that is in there. You shall only have one full and honest way. You shall only have a full and honest day's measure, so that your days may be long in the land of the Lord your God is giving you. And it reiterates that in Leviticus 19. So, and I would say Proverbs says it too. And if you check out Proverbs is all about the people that are deceiving you with their kisses, like faithful are the wounds of a friend. Going to your point, Alexis, where you're saying, I'd rather have the honesty, not brutally mean, but I'd rather have the honesty than somebody that kisses my hand, the kisses of an enemy. That's what Proverbs is talking about. It says, right. Faithful are the wounds of a friend versus the kisses of the enemy. So Proverbs emphasizes that trustworthiness brings healing to both relationships and communities. And I also think that if we're going to go further than that, we need to remember that in order for there to be any kind of dignity in our culture at all, this is why I think we find ourselves where we're at. And I'm going to step off in it now. This COVID-19 stuff. The reason
you just say that?
I did. We're going to get
say that
here. I'm going
on
to
the air.
That's
the reason why there are so many theories, and I don't even want to call them conspiratorial. I'm just going to call them theories. It's because there is a distrust for the information that's being given.
Yep.
And if there is not trust for the people in the leadership that's talking, then people are going to try to find something more trustworthy. And then you find that now we've got a divided, and I'm not just saying in half. Now it's like in thousands. where some people believe this way, some people believe this way, and it doesn't look unified at all. I walked into Walmart.
Hallmark or
Walmart.
Okay.
Walk into Walmart and you'll see one lady. I'm not kidding. I was walking out of Walmart and this lady had the mask on. It's great. I'm not questioning whether or not somebody, her exact age, without one. That's just one example. I was at the same restaurant I was talking about with the unsound chair, and this couple walks in with masks on and they begin screaming at the manager because they didn't have masks on and they weren't mandating masks, and they literally had to escort them outside because they were causing a scene at the restaurant. I'm just saying, at this point, if human dignity absolutely requires honesty, you have to have it. If people are going to act and respond in trust, then we have to have leadership that has trustworthiness. I'm so thankful I serve a God that's trustworthy. I'm so thankful that he's faithful. I'm so thankful that he's worthy and that he's acting at all points, at all times, in accordance with his character. And even if that looks like it's dishonesty in the way he presents the thing, I don't think he's ever counter to that nature, is what I'm trying to say. So, but I think it behooves us to say, this is the reason why honesty is important in relationship. This is why honesty is important in our culture. This is why honesty is important in our leadership. All of these things. Okay, so let's talk about some examples that.
Here's what Proverbs says. Proverbs 12:22 said, "The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy." And Proverbs 25:1 says, "Telling lies about others is harmful as hitting them with an axe or wounding them with a sword or shooting them with a sharp arrow."
Yep. Again, we're going back to the place of we need to define what lies are.
Yeah.
Right? Because if it's legally centered, then we're in trouble.
It can do some damage. Is what that says to me.
Right. What can do the damage?
Lying.
Period.
Lying lips.
Okay. What is lying lips?
Lips that lie.
Well, it said trustworthy, which is important because a trustworthy person is someone who acts with honesty and integrity.
Yes.
And I would say that I didn't know Corey ten Boom personally, but I would say that they were acting with integrity in that moment to protect others.
Yes.
And if you looked at just the lying lips, then you could say, well, she had lips and she lied. What then?
What about Rahab?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the wise men?
Well, he just said he detests them. That's all I'm saying.
So did he detest Rahab?
No.
Oh, I'm just saying. So is that a contradiction, or do we need to reiterate what the actual definition of lying lips is?
Lips that lie.
Well, if God detests lips that lie, then you're saying that God detested Rahab.
No, because she's in the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Faith, you mean?
Hall of Faith.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. If we're legally sinning, and this is the problem that we get in the churches, right? It's like saying that all murder is bad and then demonizing the people in the house of Israel that went and killed every person in the nation. I'm just saying that we got to find what God means when he says these things instead of legalizing and making things legalistic, because I think we come from a culture, Steve, that's what happens. We demonize the thing instead of looking into our hearts and acting the way the Lord wants us to act. It's really easy to follow a law. It's not easy to follow your heart.
I just want them to be trustworthy, for sure.
Trustworthy is, and again, we have to identify what that is. Let me ask you a question, and we're going into these categories. Let's see if we think there are times where we believe that we should be able to use deception in these circumstances. Have you ever evangelistically spoke? Exaggerated?
Never.
See, I would say that that's a lie. And God detests lying lips.
You're going straight to hell.
Yeah. How about this? When we fill out our cards at the end of the year and we report to General Counsel, do we ever evangelistically speak on how many souls got saved at the revival?
Sometimes they do.
No, I'm just saying. Or how many people responded to our altar calls, or the hyperbole of, it's the greatest message I've ever heard, or the best worship song that I've ever written, or any of these things. Do you think that they're in Psalm chapter? Let's look at a scripture reference. Let's see if this even works for us. This is one I found in Psalm chapter 6. I should have all these already pulled up. Psalm chapter 6, verse 6. And it says, I am weary with my moaning. Every night I flood my bed with tears. I drench my couch with my weeping.
All because of lying?
Do you think that is, evangelistically speaking, hyperbole? Do you think that is that acceptable? I cried so much last night that I ran out of tears. I ran my butt off. I worked my butt off.
You don't really have a butt.
But I'm just saying, if I said that, I'm saying it. Is that a lie? Is that deception?
I think
No.
we have to make a distinction here between something that is creatively speaking or emphasizing to make a point and then going past the point of authenticity. I think we as one of the most common things that I hear against Christianity is that we're fake. And so I think that when you're speaking from the heart, especially if you're providing a message, you have to make sure that it is coming from a place of authenticity. Even if you are using creative language, there's a difference between persuasive speaking and creative language than manipulative language.
So you don't think it calls into question the integrity of the person if they are constantly evangelistically speaking?
If it's causing harm.
I agree. I 100% agree. I'm just trying to call into question of, all right, well, what does that mean? If I consistently evangelistically speaking and talking in hyperbole, does that mean that you can trust the measurements in which I'm speaking in?
If you do it on a regular basis, then eventually they're not going to trust you.
Now, I ran my butt off, or I did this stuff. Like you're saying, creative language, the hyperbole of a poet versus someone who's doing it to be pervasive or malicious.
Exactly. We've all listened to those sermons that are just extremely manipulative in the way that they speak, and they're trying to fabricate emotion. And this one gets me because the gospel was radical then, and it's radical now, and it needs no exaggeration. I think that when you get into that very manipulative, we all feel it. There's something that we can just feel the fake coming off of it. And I think that treads into cult territory. I think that is where you get into trouble, is because they are trying to fabricate an emotion in you, whereas the gospel is something that affects you from the inside, not by the person speaking, but by the Holy Spirit. And
Holy Spirit,
as long as you are speaking with authenticity, which if I speak flowery, I know that I can speak in a creative way, and I love that. I think there's a lot of beauty in the poetry of the Psalms, and it can connect with a different part of you.
Yes.
But that is not manipulative language. It could be hyperbole. I think you could define it as hyperbole, but hyperbole can be also exaggeration in not a creative way. Exaggeration in, as you were talking about the numbers, of this many people got saved when it was less.
Yeah. Well, what about when Jesus says, if your right eye offends you, you should pluck it out?
It's
going to hurt.
Definitely hyperbole.
Or if your right hand is, you should cut it off. Better for those things to be gone than for your whole body to suffer in hell. Do you think he literally meant to go and cut out your eye, or do you think he was making a point?
It's
Make
an
a point.
illustration.
Right.
It's a way that it's kind of the parable.
You didn't want to pluck your eye out. No, I like to see.
Yeah.
I like to be able to see.
If you're going to get into that territory, then is a metaphor lying? Is a parable lying? I wouldn't say that those are. I think that's a different measure. It's a different medium.
Again, though, if we take the standard that most people do when they say black and white, and you get somebody that goes to Proverbs and goes, lying lips, that's bad. It's terrible. All lying lips are bad. And you go, well, what is lying? Well, did Jesus kind of give a little bit of exaggeration there where he's telling people that not everybody started plucking out their eyes at that point? I noticed that the disciples all had both of their eyes and both of their hands. And I would say that in Psalm 6, when he's talking in a big, huge, hyper way, that obviously his couch isn't soaked from his tears. He might have one little section where he was crying, but obviously he wasn't, those things weren't necessarily truth. They were just saying an expression, an artistic way of saying something. Is that bad? I think you're saying it right. We have space to utilize that. It's not a malicious deception.
It's just a creative. an emotion because they realized how hurt they were. They were crying so hard that it's just
I don't think it's deception at all.
It's not deception at all. It's just.
Well, that brings us into our next section, though. White lies.
White lies.
Now, I'm going to define this so we all got it. White lies are lies that are meant to smooth discourse or deflect minor conflicts, supposedly without doing any harm to anyone. For example, if you're late to a meeting, it's often tempting to manufacture a face-saving excuse such as traffic was bad today, or I got a last-minute call that I had to take, or take this very common scenario. You don't want to talk to someone, so you ask a colleague to tell the person that you're out of the office or in a meeting, or other kinds of white lies that include statements like, let me introduce you to my dear friend. And it's a colleague that you don't like very much. Or I see you're a wise person to a customer who's always obviously a fool. Or I'll call you when you obviously have no intention to call them. Or I'll pray for you when you obviously
That's
don't
the
have
one we probably
any.
do the most.
Yeah. Or, the ones like we were talking about with your wife who, may at that point be looking for support and not the honest answer that you would give in that moment. Does this make me look good? And no, I really don't like that, or that shirt sucks, or that kind of stuff. Those aren't necessarily the things that they're looking for. So white lies, do you think that there's space for untruth in those areas, or do you think that we should not be doing those either?
Of course, we're all looking at Alexis.
Everyone's looking at me all of a sudden.
Well, but I'm saying everybody should be answering this.
I think the only reason why I looked at you is because he entered it with the woman. What was I going to say to my wife if she asked me a question? So I'm like looking at you like, go ahead. You want to throw out anything?
No. You started. You answered. What do you think? You think we have space for dishonesty in social discourse to smooth it out, or should we deflect minor conflict with deceit?
I'm still on a white lie. I think I'm going to go back and I'm going to be steadfast on my comment of your relationship with the person. Obviously, a coworker, person you don't really like. It's just information left unsaid. If you don't say it, I mean, how many times your mom used to say, if you don't got nothing nice to say, don't say it.
Man, that can get me in as much trouble as actually saying a white lie.
Well, yes, but no. Because at least that way you don't have to answer for it.
You can be held accountable for everything you don't even say.
Yes,
come on. We were just said that we can deceive with our, right?
Yes, with your minds, with your body language. I know that. But realistically, like Alexis said, I like the way you said it about the flowery conversation or in the way you talk.
Right.
Okay.
I think at some point it can undermine your integrity and your character. I think if you get in a habit of white lies, you're
setting yourself up for bigger and better lies.
I think it's it can be a gateway into thinking, well, if this is harmless, or if this doesn't hurt anybody, and now you've established yourself as someone who can't be trusted. Now you've undermined the integrity, because if you say, I'm sorry I was late to work, there was a wreck on Broadway, and you continue.
And there probably was.
There might have been.
But you didn't go Broadway.
But say that person looked up. Say that person, for whatever reason, looks up if there was a wreck on Broadway. They find out there wasn't. Now they're questioning everything that you've told them.
Yeah.
Even if you thought that lie was harmless. And I think also going back to just, you have to be careful about deciding what lies you're going to tell to protect someone else's feelings, especially if it crosses relational boundaries that you've set up.
Do you ever think that people are, and again, we're just playing devil's advocate. I totally agree. If you're consistently lying, even about the small things, that you can't be trusted in the bigger things. I 100% agree with you on that.
I agree with that.
What I would say, though, do you think that there are times where people aren't ready to hear the truth?
I think so. Yeah, I think.
But that's growing.
Yeah, but you have to discern whether or not it is appropriate to give them the answer or to not give them the answer. Because there are a lot of times where you give them an answer and they're not ready to hear it, and causes things that you don't, that aren't peaceful.
Well, maybe you didn't say it right.
Well, I know for a fact that Jesus never said anything wrong, but they wanted to kill him.
It was over blasphemy. Everything was over blasphemy.
Again, we're saying that I can't control the way people perceive those things. And I think even when people did not want to hear the truth, he gave them stories that alluded to the truth, but he didn't give them the full out truth. He didn't like present the whole idea. So with your sin of omission versus the sin of commission, if we're being completely honest, that when the disciples came back to him after the parable of the sower, and like, what did you mean by this? And he's like, how long do I have to endure you? How many times have I taught you this? This is what this means. And they go, well, why did you tell them in parables? Well, to people that actually want to know the truth, I'll actually reveal what these things mean. But to the people that don't, I'll speak to them in parables. Mm-hmm. I think even he gauged the amount of truth that was coming from his mouth to the people that didn't want to hear it, because he knew that that wasn't loving. It's like with God. Can you imagine if he just downloaded all the truth of the vast expanse of the universe into you as soon as you got saved? You'd explode. There would be no way that you handle all of it.
I've eaten at some Mexican restaurants and I felt that same way. I'd be okay with it.
Do you think that his not revealing, that's gross. There's a sound effect, but I'm not going to use it. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So what I'm saying is, do you think that he gauged the amount of truth, or do you think he gauges the amount of truth that he gives us? And is that the same as deception, or is that love?
Well, I think there are some scenarios when it's more loving to allow someone to find the truth for themselves.
I'd agree.
There's some instances where people need to search through it. They need to work through several conclusions before they come to the truth. And I think
there are times that we should withhold it.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are value. Yeah, I think there are values in the parables speaking where he was alluding to a truth. But if they were of the mind and of the heart to seek it, they were going to find it. They're going to look for it and come to that conclusion on their own. I know several people where if I just told them what I felt, laid out before them what the truth is, it would go in one ear and out the other. But if there are allusions here and there, and then they come to their own conclusion, and then we can talk about it, it's going to sink a lot deeper into their mind and into their heart of what the truth is if they found it for themselves.
So you're saying that it's okay for us to know the truth, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to speak it.
You have to use discernment on the person.
Wait, say that again?
Well, just repeating what I'm in a different lingo. I just said that just because you know the truth doesn't mean that you have to say all of the truth at that point.
Well, yes, I agree. I mean, just think about it. If Jesus didn't speak in parables, then the people who sought after the truth, you just give them the information, they walk off the other side, and you go, oh, I don't. Did they hear me?
So what's the difference between that and a white lie?
A white lie is to tell a falsehood. I wouldn't call a parable a falsehood.
Yes. It's not the entire truth.
But not the entire truth is not the same as a direct falsehood, saying this is true when it is not.
So in relationship, if you ask a husband or someone and you say, I would like to have an honest opinion about it's raining outside and we are hearing that. Yeah. It's a little stormy outside. Yay. Okay, I'm just being truthful with y'all. All right. So, anyways, if a husband or boyfriend or relationship in that regard, you're asking them an honest assessment, and you're wanting to be supported. When you're asking the question, the whole hope is that you look good, and you're told that you're being reinforced. Okay, and you say, hey, how does this shirt look? How does this outfit look? And he goes, well, your jeans look great.
Yep, that is perfect.
He's not saying a falsehood.
Nope.
But he didn't answer your question.
Yes, he did.
To me,
yes, he did.
To me, no, come on.
He said the jeans look great.
Would you be satisfied?
Well,
read between
there's a
the
problem
lines
there because it's a very, very obvious omission. If I ask specifically, how does my shirt look? And they say, well, your jeans look great. I'd say, you didn't answer my question.
How does my outfit look? And he says, your jeans look great.
There you go. Sounds good to me.
On this topic, this is a little bit off. On this topic, I think there are other options, just from a woman's perspective. You don't have to say, you can say, how do I look? You don't have to say either you look terrible or you look fantastic. If they're wearing something that's maybe not incredibly flattering, You can say you look beautiful, because I guarantee you, all of you find your wife attractive.
Yes.
You find them beautiful. And so if you feel in that moment, if she's specifically saying, hey, I'm not sure about this, the way these sleeves look, you know, that's a more pointed, honest question. But if you think she's had a bad day, she wants to look, you know, feel supported, you can say you look very beautiful. And that's not a lie, because I know that's how you feel. Does that make sense? You're not, your options are not.
But did you answer the question?
No, you didn't.
Yeah,
and
no.
usually
No.
after 20 years of relationship, if you just answer, you look beautiful.
I know.
Yep.
They're going to look at you
That's
and go,
a candid answer.
that's a cop-out, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what Cheryl will come back at me with if I say that.
Oh,
I'm
my wife
saying
would do
that
the same.
at some point, there's going to have to be an inflection of, or you have to question what the heart is in the matter. I think if you're self-preservating, if that's even a word,
Right.
if you're in self-preservation and you're doing these white lies to preserve yourself, I think that your heart's wrong in the process.
Yep.
But if you're wanting to build up, if you're wanting to encourage, if you're wanting to, well, I tell people all the time, because I know that God has made them awesome. So I look at people and I go, you're awesome. You're incredibly, you're wonderful. I think you're great. What they're doing may not be great.
Right.
The people that they're acting like right now, they're not. Okay. But I will look at them and I'll say, you know what? You're awesome. I really love you. I really appreciate you. And that is encouraging. It's speaking love into their life. It may not be an honest assessment of their character in that moment, but I'm looking at the big equation. I'm not looking at, now I just told a story. For those of you that I say you're awesome, it doesn't mean
I know.
I'm lying to you.
I was just thinking that as we go forward.
I
was awesome.
I knew
I
you
love
would
this.
say that. I do that, and I probably should not have said that.
thought I was awesome. Now
You are awesome.
I'm not so sure now.
God has made you awesome. It is absolutely true. All right. So what about bluffing, like in balderdash or in poker or those kinds of things?
I'm not good at that.
We know. That's why I wanted you to come over. I got a game going tonight. Come on, brother. Bring your money.
Laura's able to read you like a book.
Yes. Yes, she can read me.
Well, do y'all think there's, mutual deception?
I wouldn't even call it lying, because there's consent. They're not.
So I have consent to lie to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you step into the game,
You know
You're part
that
of this
bluffing's
game.
part
That's
of
what
it.
that's what
You're
it's about.
getting this though, right? We have different boundaries for different scenarios.
Of course.
So again, it's
No, I
not
didn't
the basis of the legal, it's the basis of the relational. It's not all lies are bad, because we're already assessing that, in this case, as long as we're both giving each other permission to play the game, it's okay. So what camouflage? You're not a tree. But you're misrepresenting yourself to be the tree so that you can kill an animal. Is that not deception?
It is deception.
we're talking about hunting.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were talking about
Okay.
Steve being a tree.
These are the last ones, and we're almost done. Okay, so what about, like with Corey ten Boom, someone has no right to the truth? For example, if a gun-wielding criminal comes into a convenience store for the purpose of robbing it, the employees, are they under an obligation to tell the truth about where the money is?
I don't believe so, but I think this one's tricky. Where do you draw the line?
Somebody comes into the church asking where the pastor is, got a gun, wants to kill the pastor. Depending on how you feel about the pastor.
Right? Did
You make
he
that
tell me I was
judgment
awesome today?
Is he going to let out on time? All right, so yeah, I don't. Again, does God hates lying lips? Do we lie about, or do we tell them where the money is? Or how about this? Somebody walks in and wants your to kill your wife. Has a gun and says, "Hey, where's Laura? I need to talk to her right now."
What about?
And you know what he's wanting to do or she's wanting to do. What do you do, Steve? Knowing that God hates lying lips. Do you lie to him, or do you tell him exactly where she's at?
I don't tell him where she's at.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, right? Okay, so we
Or do
got.
you just not say anything at all?
What about mystery shoppers? What about people that are trying to get some information that's going to be helpful to a company? Like, I've known churches that hire people to act like they're coming to their church, their guests, just to check out whether or not their greeting and their visitor people, or the way that they approach people, are it's good. So they're trying, but these people are not church people. They don't care anything about joining the church, but they're acting as if they are. Is that
What?
deception? Yeah.
I've never heard
Do you
of
want me to
that.
go somewhere this weekend?
Huh? No. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the fact that people actually hire guests to come in and try to give them a report on how they were met at the door, how their greeters responded, how they were treated at church, all those things, to give them an accurate report card, an objective view of how their church is operating and if they're doing a good job or not. They have people to do that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like mystery shoppers. What about if you're serving court papers and you know that if you tell them the truth, they won't accept the court papers?
Again, I think this comes down to what we've been saying the entire time is, what is your intention, and is it from a foundation of love? Is it from a foundation of integrity?
What about confidentiality, Alexis? What if you tell me something in confidence in counseling and somebody asks me?
Oh, yeah, you've made an agreement. You've made a very strong relational or professional agreement. You have to stick with confidentiality.
What about fasting and giving? Matthew 6, where it says, don't appear like you are sick. Don't appear like you are, destitute. I want you to wash your face. I want you to put on your best clothes, and I want you to act. Or don't let the right hand know what the left hand is doing in giving.
It's a form of deception.
I'm just saying that if it's just all one pervasive law that goes through everything and is supposed to be, I don't think that we can do that. I don't think that that's what that's about. And I think the bottom line is coming where exactly what Alexis is saying. It's the foundation and the principle of our action has to be love. It has to be, that's the course of what we're trying to say here, is that lies are generally, when we're talking about, we want to operate in honesty. But at the end of the day, the foundation that we're talking on has to be driven and guided by love. Just what he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law, all the prophets hang on those things.
Yep.
In 1 Corinthians it says, all the things that I've listed, these three things remain: faith, hope, and love. Let me show you the greater way, which is love. The greatest of all those things is love, right? Mm-hmm. So even with all of my gifts, even with all of the great things that we can do, without love, it doesn't work. So the bottom line is that. All right, going into the song of the week, we had a great conversation. Thank you guys for being honest.
Honest.
So you think.
The best policy.
The missionary. Pulling out the lies, are you? Yeah. All right, anyways, so we're going to go to
awesome. You're just awesome, Tim.
Thank you.
Yes, Tim. Am I still awesome? I'm not awesome.
No,
I was talking
awesome,
to Todd.
You're awesome, Steve.
All of you guys are completely incredible. I think you guys are wonderful. I think you're awesome.
I need to go watch some YouTube videos on how to farm.
Uh-oh. You wait till the contract to sign before you say this. That's right. Anyways, we got to get into the musical segment of the week. This is a Fadestrange song about a group that I was in a long time ago.
I love this song.
This song was written at a very difficult time in my life when I had a lot of questions about living for the Lord, and I had failed miserably in my relationship with my wife. So in a moment of incredible honesty with God, I poured my heart out to him, and he revealed some awesome truth in my life. So I penned this song at a piano in an auditorium, crying out to him. It's probably one of the more powerful and memorable moments in my life. This one is called Here I Am on My Knees. I hope you guys hear it and respond to it.
Where do I begin to say I'm sorry for the things that I've done? Lord, I can't begin to say how I failed you every way. How do I make it right? I could close my eyes and wish that things had never changed. I could regret the day I fell, but it wouldn't say the same. If I fell on my knees and begged you, Jesus, please forgive my every sin, make me whole again. If I cried out to you and asked you, Jesus, to hold my sin to grace, draw me to your face and give me grace. always falling down. God, I wonder how you can pick me up again. Oh, but no matter what the sin or what kind of state I'm in, I know that you're a friend I can turn to day and night. When I have no strength to fight, I can lift my voice every day, cry out to you and say, here I am on my knees, begging Jesus, please forgive my every sin, make me whole again. Lord, I'm crying out to you, and I ask you, Jesus, to hold my sin erase, draw me to your face and give me grace. Lord, I'm sure you know my heart and what I love, and I know that all my life is what you're worthy of. I can't take another breath without your mercy covering me. Lord, I'm running to you, hoping you'll set me free. If I fell on my knees and begged you, Jesus, please forgive my every sin, make me whole again. If I cried out to you and I asked you, Jesus, to hold my sin erase, draw me to your face and give me grace. Lord, give me grace. If I cried out to you and I asked you, Jesus, to hold my sin erase, draw me to your face and give me grace. Oh Lord.
And that was Fadestrange back in 2009. Here I am on my knees. Written a long time ago. Really wasn't in 2009, but that's when it got recorded. I'm going to hold this thing down just a little bit. I'm going to say this to tie it up. I believe God holds truth and love together in a perfect marriage. So when they're married, there is no conflict. When they're surrendered, when we face dilemmas, for example, when love requires deception, like Corey ten Boom or Rahab or some of these other things that we talked about, or when truth causes harm, telling a child a truth that he or she is not prepared to understand. It's not because there's something wrong with God. It's because of the sin and the selfishness that's so prevalent in our world. So until God's kingdom is fulfilled, those who would follow God will experience periodic conflicts as they try to love in truth and to tell the truth in love. In other words, the fact that truth-telling in a biblical principle does not necessarily mean that there's an absolute to be always followed in every circumstance. There are at least two occasions in the Bible in which deception seems to be allowed, and we talked about those today. So we love to hear from you guys. If you have anything else you want to add to that, please let us know. Get in contact with us. I want to thank Crossroads Community Church of Lindale, Texas, for sponsoring this podcast and allowing us the opportunity to broadcast to you from their podcast studio in Lindale, Texas. Go and check out their Facebook page at C3 Lindale. And listen, if you're going through things or just have some things you need to talk through, give us a message on Facebook at the PT Podcast. We want the opportunity to listen and to pray with you. And listen, if you're going to comment on the page, don't be a jackhole, okay? What I want you to do is actually listen to the podcast, all right? I know you have opinions about religion. I think it's great that you have opinions about religion. You can message me anything you want, But don't go on there and start commenting about the motives of the people that are on the podcast without actually knowing what the podcast is about. You only look like a dummy, okay? So don't do that, please. And listen, next week we're going to be welcoming back Dr. Carla Lech and tackling a controversial subject in our neck of the woods, especially women in ministry. Ooh. Yeah. So I hope you're able to join us for that. It's going to be fun. Listen, if you have an idea for a podcast that we'd like to hear or that you'd like to hear on the podcast, please email me at tim@timlech.com. That's tim@timletsch.com. And let me know what you'd like to hear us talk about, and we can add it to the upcoming list of shows. And October 29th, we're going to attempt a live show. We're going to try to take some callers, which is going to be supernaturally dangerous, but that's okay. It's going to be fun, and we're going to be talking about angels, demons, ghosts, and the supernatural. So, we're gonna have some fun with that one. It has been an awesome conversation, guys. Alexis is bittersweet. I know that we're not going to see you for a little bit.
I'm sad,
but we love you.
You can come back.
We're glad that you're able to. Yeah, you can come back anytime you want to.
Thank you guys for having me.
Save all those
Thanks
kiddos.
for coming.
Well, yeah.
Save the what?
Save the kids.
Oh, I thought you said dineros.
Are most of them kid slaves, or are they adult slaves too?
They are mostly children, so they'll take them from the age of 3 onward. But usually when they reach maybe 17 or 18, they get kicked out because they're no longer useful. And unfortunately, at that point, most of these are young girls, and so you can imagine what happens. And
prostitution, sex slavery, those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what Timothy Garland was telling me. That's your father was telling me that there's a lot of that in the culture there.
Yes, definitely. And when you're a child slave, you have nothing to your name. You have no education. You don't even have a name. What are you going to do when you're kicked out on the street at 17? So they go into the sex trade. And we're hoping to be a preventative measure of that. We want to get these girls before that happens.
You'll get them during. And
Yes.
what better hands to be in than the hands of God and the hands of Raiz. I'm really proud to be a part of it. I'm really proud of you. I'm really glad that you're standing out there, and we have got your back in prayer and other ways as well. I think you guys
Thank
know
you
that.
very
So
much. That means everything.
well, we love you guys, and I'm really glad that you were able to come on here. I got to know you a little bit, and appreciate you. Yeah, all of us. But it's been a great conversation today. Hope it's challenged you.
Yes.
But we're gonna be here next week, hopefully, and the Lord allows it. But until then,
This is Todd Bergen.
This is Steve Hauer.
This is Alexis Garland.
and this is PT signing off. If no one has told you, God loves you so incredibly much, and so do I. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.